What's going on, guys? Rob here with Easy Does It. We are absolutely excited to bring you this awesome podcast with our guest host, Korey McDonald. But before we dive into this one today, we wanted to give you guys a quick disclaimer. Our memory card for this episode got a little corrupted, and you'll notice there are some sections in there that are fast forwarded, or where you notice we may have done some edits, but this episode was too good not to put it out there. And living into our news that you'll hear about in this podcast about punch bowls. You'll know what we're talking about here in a minute. This is our moment of leaning into that and just releasing it because it was too good to pass up. So please excuse that for us, but we're excited to bring it to you. So enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy Does It, a podcast created specifically for the amazing members of the MJ team. Rob and I are excited to be back with you. We have a great episode for you today. It's another guest host episode, our faves. So we're pumped about having somebody else here with us to bring us some good stuff.
Heck yeah. Guess what? Who we have in the house today? The man, the myth, the legend, Korey Old McDonald. I'm just kidding. There's no old in there. It's Korey McDonald. He's in the house today. What's up, Korey?
What's up, guys?
What's up?
I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited. I think Korey is like the coolest cat.
He really is.
Yep.
Y'all don't know this, and maybe we can get some bloopers out of this, but we've been cackling this entire time before we launch this thing today. This is going to be a good one today. Good one. Hey, so Korey, to give you a little bit of background for Korey. So Korey, he's a versatile member of the Morris-Jenkins crew. So derives out of the lovely marketing room. I don't know what to expect when I walk in there. Usually there's some crazy trash playing on the TV.
The radio, the lights are going, the neon lights are blinking. No, it's a party.
I'm surprised it's not like a club scene up in there.
We're gonna get a bouncer soon.
We'll take tours around the building, and I'll be sure to cruise on by the marketing room because it's the one room that's completely different from everybody else's. It's dark and different in there.
Yeah, sometimes I walk in there and I'm getting like we're in create mode vibes, and I'm like it's dead silent. Everybody's got their headphones on, and like Jen's over there typing, and you're like looking, and I'm like, okay, this is the marketing. Clearly they're creating right now, so we're gonna head on back out. And then sometimes when I come in there, everybody's talking. Yeah, you just don't never know.
They always forget I'm back there.
Yeah, who's gonna look? We're
gonna learn a lot about them today, but I would be remiss to dive into you telling us about yourself before we get to questions. Oh. So Meredith has lovingly created some great questions for us. We've been doing this, and we're going to just kind of keep it going.
Yes.
We'll keep it going till we don't do it no more. We'll just figure this trash out as we go.
I'm sure I can find some other questions to add to the bag when these run out.
For sure.
Even though they make me nervous because I can't prepare for them.
She was filing them before we got started, and we were like, pick one. So she's picked one.
Okay.
Korey, you ready?
All right.
Let's do it.
Here's the question from the bag for today for all of us to answer. And we'll let Korey go first since he's our guest. Who was your first celebrity crush?
All right. And this is hard because it's like you have to think back of when, as a child, when were you like most... So I would have to say Xena, the Warrior Princess, is definitely one of them. I don't know what that says about me, but she was very large and strong and powerful, and she had a battle cry.
What did that sound like, Korey?
I'm not really sure. I think I've heard someone else do it before, though. Something like that. She had this like metal ring, I think she used to throw.
Okay, Korey, when she threw that thing around, how did she not slice her hand open? It's sharp, but she caught it.
Yeah, as a kid, I never, that never dawned on me. But now that I think about it, it's like, she used to catch it, and that thing used to fly. She was like the Captain America before Captain America.
Yeah. I was going to say, was she the precursor to Wonder Woman?
I would say
you could say that.
Maybe.
I mean, the outfit's the same, and she's snapping people up. Yeah. Nobody could beat her down.
No. Before we pull her up on,
okay, I'm
there needs to be warning labels.
I haven't seen her since I was a kid, so I don't really know if that aged well on me. But
I'm sure, like the classic picture will.
She's looking like a badass.
Okay, I just honestly cannot. If she passed me right now, I couldn't. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. There she is.
Okay. I do feel like we had this DVD. I think this was a DVD. I'm pretty sure we had this.
Possibly, yeah.
That series went on for so long.
It did. And then I think it was a spinoff with Hercules, possibly. Or it was like the guy version of that or something. I don't know. But
that cat. So Hercules was out about the same time, and I think they were on each other's shows at a different point. They like kind of overlapped at some point.
Yeah, back in the day, they used to do that. Sitcoms used to overlap and have all that fun stuff.
See, that's how you just created so much like breadth to series, and they all linked together. They're around the same time and made it interesting. You're like, oh man, you can catch 3 episodes with somebody else in there that you've been watching.
Yeah,
makes it good.
And it was appointment TV. You had to be there at that time to watch it. There was no like on Netflix and stuff like that. So
yeah, this might be showing my age because I'm clearly the oldest person in this room, but do you all remember like Friday nights? God, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like, yes, and it was like Steve Urkel, Full House. What was Steve Urkel? What was that show called?
Family Matters.
Yeah. We used to, maybe that was the precursor to, so we do Pizza Friday night at my house. We have pizza every Friday night and we watch a movie. And now I'm thinking about it, and I think we were doing that at my house when I was younger too. We just didn't know that's what it was. I couldn't wait to sit down at like 7 o'clock on a Friday night and just watch from Full House on or whatever it was.
Back-to-back sitcoms, and they were all great.
Yep.
Yeah, good times.
Good stuff.
The good old days.
Oh, yeah. I do remember coming home from school when I was a kid, and I was so excited because Pokemon would come on, and then, don't laugh at me, Beetleborgs, which was like a spin-off of the Power Rangers, would come on. And then I do remember watching Power Rangers when I was a kid, and I was so excited. I would come home and eat the Little Debbie Cosmic Brownies.
Oh, God.
My mom would buy a box of those, and they came like 8 in a box, and I would eat 2 at a time. So they didn't last very long. They didn't make it till Friday.
Yeah.
But it was so appointment TV.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You had to be home at the right time. Otherwise, you're partway through, and you're like, what's the point of even watching it?
And the thing is, you don't know when you would ever see it again. Like, if you missed it, you might have just missed it.
Yeah. Okay, Rob. First celebrity crush.
So... Okay. Hear me out. So back in the day, there was a movie. I don't even know how it came on. It's probably same thing, appointment TV, but it was My Girl. I don't remember her name that was on there. It started with a V, I think. But I got to look it up. But it was My Girl. It had Macaulay Culkin on it. It was the chick on that. That was my jam.
It's a sad movie.
It is sad. The ending was really sad, but it was such a good movie. Yeah, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't see it, but now I kind of don't want to see it. I don't like watching sad movies.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
Anna Klumsky. I can't say it. I haven't. Something like you, Corey. I hadn't seen her until I just looked her up. But yeah, that was my jam back in the day. But it was a sad movie.
Yep.
Hopefully, I don't ruin it for anybody if you want to go back and watch it. But that was it.
Was she in anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was that one movie.
No idea.
I just
no impact. No idea. But that was the jam back in the day. She's living in my mind in that way. That's where it's staying.
Okay, mine, I'm going to have to go with Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. That was another appointment TV. I think that was probably my after school while you were watching Pokemon. I was watching Saved by the Bell. Pretty sure I watched, that was like a religious, I watched it all the time. So I would have to say Zach Morris would be at the top of my list.
And I feel like you have a lot of competition on that. I'm sure a lot of girls were into him.
Oh, so. Yes. That was, and AC Slater, that was Zach's best friend. Screech, no, he would not qualify.
I was getting ready to say.
I thought you were putting him on the list.
You have a broad spectrum of guys.
I don't hate.
Just so people know that there was, Screech, take him off the list. But AC Slater, he might have been up there as well. But it was a great, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but for sure, like those middle school type.
Yeah.
They were in high school, I think. And so, when you're like not quite to that age yet and you watch that show and it's like, oh, that's what high school is going to be like. That's not. No. But yeah, I would say that was one of my favorite shows, and also too probably where my first celebrity crush. Maybe even some of the folks from New Kids on the Block. For sure, I could see. I can't remember anybody's name specifically right now, but I also really loved New Kids on the Block as well. So maybe Joey, that was his name. Yes.
Sure, you could just name a name and I'm sure
It's
it'll
coming.
work.
Yeah, we're like, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds real good. I can't say I ever watched Saved by the Bell.
What?
Yeah,
I know what it is, and I know the characters, but what was her name? Topanga? Was she on that? Who is that?
No, that's Boy Meets World.
Oh, well, I'm way off then. I just know that name. I
Yeah.
remember her too.
She's probably another celebrity crush.
No, true.
Probably.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Even till this day, actually, she did well for herself.
Yeah.
See, Corey's like, I didn't know what Xena looked like this day, but I do know.
I know Topanga.
Shout out Topanga. Hit me up.
What a name.
I think they did that on purpose so
Had
no
to.
one would
No one's
ever
gonna forget
forget.
that.
Yeah.
No,
It's too
no.
close to Tropicana. I always link those two things together.
Never thought of that.
Oh,
man.
Korey, it's so good to have you on the show. And, I know that Morris-Jenkins is listening to this, and there may be some people that are listening to this that aren't here. So give us like the down and dirty. How did you come to work at Morris-Jenkins? Who are you, man?
So how I came to work at Morris-Jenkins is funny because I was in New York City working in fashion film. We were expecting a child, and I was like, well, I'm not going to try to move them up here and make this work in New York because that's rough. So then I was like, I'm going to move back. And I looked for a job here, and there was a Craigslist ad, which tells you where we were as a company, for somebody who did marketing and video. And I was like, I didn't know what Morris-Jenkins was. So I was just like, I'm going to do it because it's Charlotte and they have film. So I'm going to do it. And I applied for the job, and then I went on LinkedIn and stalked Casey Welch, which is my boss now. And I jumped in her DMs, and I told her, you need to hire me. And she responded back.
Is that how it went? You need to hire me.
Something like that. Probably not that straightforward, but
You
it was
had that swagger back in the day.
No, it was very confident of me, even
Yeah.
more than I actually am. I was just like, there's nobody better to do this job than me. And I kind of told her, and she'll probably tell you that too. I don't remember what I said, but it was short and sweet. Just like, hey, I replied to the job, and I think that I'm a good fit for you guys. And she reached back out, and I had an interview, and I got the job, and that was back in 2014, and this is my 10-year anniversary.
Dang,
Wow.
Korey, 10 whole years.
10 years, my longest relationship ever. With Morris-Jenkins.
It's a good place to be.
Right? So yeah, that's how I ended up here, and it's hard to leave a place that just kind of allows you to grow and be who you want to be, and they kind of give you the key and say, hey, just kind of create what you want to create. It's hard to kind of leave a place like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some people are like, my friends are like, you still there? And I'm like, yeah. You don't really leave good things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's hard to when you find a good place to work with good people,
Yeah.
good culture. I mean, it's like, there's always stuff out there, and it's so worn out. The grass is greenest where you water it. But
Right.
it's like, this place is a great place, and you can grow. And there's always another platform, another place to stretch to. There's always something that you can do, and with how fast we're evolving and changing. Like you're typically at the cutting edge. Casey literally just said it today. A Deweyism is never be afraid to change something while it's working. Like you don't want to wait till it breaks before you fix it. So it's that constant involvement's always happening. In marketing, I always feel like there's always new stuff happening all the time, right?
Always.
Man. So what is the average day look like for you in the marketing realm? I know it changes a lot, but like, what is the norm for you? What's your zone?
Yeah, the norm is probably editing. I spend most of my time editing the stuff that we've already shot. So we'll go out and shoot something for a day or two, and we shoot like 5 different ads in one day, and then the rest of the time is spent kind of putting them together like a puzzle, which that's my least favorite part is editing, but it's the most important part because that's where the movie and everything is built in the edit. You can shoot us three can shoot something totally different, shoot the same thing, we'll all get something totally different in the edit based on how we want to put it together. So that's what I spend most of my time doing. And then of course I'm working with Casey on and Jen on writing scripts and concepts. I'm big on concepts of like, you can have when I think about an ad, I think about an overarching concept. Where do we want to go? And then from there I work down. So if you have a good concept, the weeds don't really matter. You can find the right word, you can find that, but you need a strong concept. So I'm big on trying to find ideas and insights and concepts that kind of like, okay, this makes sense in this realm. How can I make it make sense in HVAC? How can I make it make sense in our marketing world? And that's kind of like where I like to live and what we do.
What inspires you to find those concepts?
So when Casey's like, hey, we need a new ad, the first thing I do is I go on a website called, I think iSpot TV, which is basically just a a group of ads from all the big companies, State Farm and Progressive. They put all their ads there, and it showed you their ad spend, how much money they spend, all that kind of stuff. So I go there because I like to just see what's going on out there, because I don't watch much TV anymore, traditional TV.
Yeah.
So I don't see too many ads anymore.
Right.
So I go there and I want to be inspired by things that I see, and I'll kind of see something and I was like, that's an interesting take. And then I kind of, how can I make this work this way? So really, I just kind of go out and I try to get inspired by what's going on, because they're doing it at a high level. Like, we do good stuff here, but when you talk about the Progressives and State Farm, those big.
Thinking of concepts, how many are balled up and thrown?
Yeah.
That may be really great, but other things are like this.
How can I make that work tomorrow? So.
Yeah. Commercials, and you're like, what the heck were they thinking with that? What is that?
How many people signed off on that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And you're like, okay. And then other ones you see and you're like, man, that was really well thought out. And sometimes even at face value, you watch it and then you watch it again and you're like, I completely missed the undertone of what this was either actually about or that there are multiple avenues that come off of that.
Yeah. And at Morris-Jenkins, we are known greatly and not greatly for our ads. Even from the early days before I started with Bobby and Mr. Jenkins, people loved them or they hated them. But Dewey always was like, the point is to be talked about.
Yeah.
And you can have a great ad that everyone just kind of like, passes at it, okay. Or one that's like, man, I can't stand that guy, or why does he say it like that, or those Morris-Jenkins commercials, but like we're on the top of your mind. And that's the whole idea of advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to stay at top of mind.
Yeah.
Can I ask a pre-New York Korey question?
Yes.
Are you originally from here? And how did you like set this creative course for yourself? I guess, how did you land in New York City?
All right, so we're going back. So yes, I'm from here, born and raised in Charlotte. And then I went so in high school, I took a graphic design class my junior year, and that's when I fell in love with kind of creating. And I really wanted to be a graphic designer. Before 11th grade, I was a jock, so football, wrestling, track. I played sports. That's all I cared about was sports. And then I started getting into creative things, and slowly but surely sports started to kind of fall away, and I really didn't care too much about it. Plus, I wasn't blessed with the best side, so I couldn't go to college to play sports. So
meanwhile, Korey, I see him at the gym every morning getting diesel. I'm still trying to get him into the Brotherhood at 5 o'clock. He says his alarm don't work at 5 o'clock in the morning.
It doesn't. It just won't go off.
But I digress. All right, so creativity.
Right, this is what I want to talk about, creativity. And then my senior year, I took a photography class, and it was I borrowed one of my friend's film cameras, and we actually went to the dark room and created our own film and took photos. And that was just a whole world where I was like, man, this is like really awakening inside of me. I feel like it's something I want to do. And another story that a lot of people probably don't know about is I've always loved sports marketing and advertising. And I was watching The Apprentice back in the day, and they had to do a campaign for Sprite, and they had to come up with some idea of how to market this Sprite thing they were doing. And I was watching The Apprentice, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. They're doing advertising, they're being creative. They had to do a whole photo shoot. They had to do like a graffiti wall, or whatever their task was. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I love creativity and I love advertising. And I was like, how can I find a way to make that work? So from high school, I graduated and went to East Carolina University, and I went to the art school there for graphic design. And my freshman year, long story short, I flunked out, because in order to get into the graphic design program, you have to do all the prereqs. And they only select 20 students to get into the graphic design program out of like thousands. Wow. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to make that. Plus, you had to learn how to sculpt, you had to draw, you had to paint. Wow. I never did any of that stuff. I'm good on the computer. So then I was like, well, if I'm going to stay in college, I'm going to have to switch majors because I'm not going to make it here. So then I went to communications and public relations and PR. Which is kind of marketing adjacent, creativity adjacent. And I really thrived there. I became the president of the organization there, of our chapter for Public Relations Student Society of America. And I wanted to go into PR and maybe be a publicist or work with the media in some type of way. And from there, I started to teach myself how to use the camera. My mom bought me a camera, a DSLR, for my graduation gift. And that kind of started me. Once I had the power in my hands, I could just go out and shoot whatever I want to shoot. And so I taught myself how to do the things that I want to do and created videos. And the events I created in college ended up going viral. on YouTube. It's called How Bad Do You Want It? And it was from he was a football player at our college, and he won. It was like 100,000 views. I was like, oh wow, that was quick. And it was like World Star Hip Hop, which was big back in the day, picked it up, and all these outlets picked it up, and it started to grow really crazy. And we're like, wow, we did something. But again, we didn't plan to do that. It just kind of happened.
Right.
And this is like 2010, 9-ish. So YouTube is very new, and it's the wild, wild west of YouTube. And so people started to steal it from our page, and they put it on their page. So currently, if you go look up the video just doesn't live on my page. It lives on someone else's pages that's getting all the ads and all the money from it. I try not to think about that part because it makes me mad when I think about it, if he is making a lot of money on it. But yeah, that was just like my first time where it's like, wow, I created something at a very early stage of my creative career that impacted the world. And it's not a good video in the sense of the quality and the technical stuff. But what is good is that it was a message.
Yeah.
And people resonated with it. So that was my first lesson, where it's like, sometimes it's not about how pretty you can make the picture. Can you make people feel something?
Yeah.
And was something that I learned early, which helped me in my career as we're going on. But that was, so anyway, long story, another one, we did a part 2 with E.T. Officially. We met with him. He reached out to us because he was like, you stole my thing, but you made me bigger than I ever was.
E.T. needs to be paying you right now.
Again, someone else is getting paid, but not me. But anyway.
E.T., we need to have a talk.
Yeah, so we did a part 2, and it was awesome. But that was my early career of creativity. And then, of course, I grew the most when I went to New York, because I learned under another lead photographer, and she taught me about lighting and fashion, all that kind of stuff, and being able to light a product. Because you can light a product for that looks cool, or you have to light it to sell. Because if you're doing for a company that's wanting to sell the garment, you can take a photo, but if you can't really see what color the garment is or what texture it is, it's not going to sell well. So she taught me about lighting, and it's not just about getting a cool shot. You have to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing we do in marketing. In our commercials, they can look great, but are they serving a purpose? And that's to make money.
How do you create purpose if you're doing like a photo? You're talking about like taking a photo of something, how do you create purpose in a garment just with a photo?
Yeah. And I think what the purpose is more, what is the purpose? So if you're selling, workout shirts and you want it to sell, the purpose is make this thing look as good as it can and let them know what kind of shirt it is from the website. So if you're selling black shirts, but all the shirts look navy on the website because they were shot wrong, people are going to be returns are coming because like, oh, I thought it was black, return it. Yeah. So that kind of purpose is what I'm also thinking about. But also from an image standpoint, my cousin always, because I take pictures all the time and I put them on Instagram, and he's like, yo, how do you do that? I'm like, how do you do what? And he's like, you took this photo and I take a photo and it doesn't look like the way you take photos. And I was like, oh, well, I said, send me your picture, and you showed it to me, and I was like, oh, I know what's wrong. And he was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, you're not telling the viewer where to look. You're just, we're at this cool building, pictures of the whole building. And it's like, well, cool, that's the whole building. But when I'm taking a picture, I'm going to tell you guys where I want you to look by the way that I framed it. So instead of maybe the picture isn't this wide, it's the picture's here.
Yeah.
And now you get to see the emotion from the kid in the shot, and you see the grandparents there. It's not about the whole mall entrance. It's really about the moment here. So it's really about telling people, showing them where you want them to look. That's a little tidbit for photographers that want to shoot.
If you've learned something from this, make sure you hit up his Patreon account.
Man, I knew I was going to take a lot away from this, but even just that, it's just, and I know we're going to talk about this because I feel like this came through in all of the research that I did to prepare myself for this conversation that I don't feel ready to have. But it is just this whole different, it's like a different perspective, a different view. It's like it's kind of lived inside of you, and you've just kind of, I guess, nurtured that.
Just to your point, I could pull out my phone and shoot something, but the way he sees it and the way you're describing, the way you see it, and like creating a story behind everything, like my mind doesn't work like that. And I remember the first round of videos he gave me just were little short clips. He's like, what do you think about this? Just let me know. We can make some adjustments. And I'm watching it and I'm like, that is not how any of that looked in my mind.
Right.
And it's like 10 times better than what I thought. And I thought he did such an insane job of just depicting this scene of people working out and the camaraderie. And I'm like, he's like, you guys just, kind of cheer each other on a little bit, clap each other up. And then like when he pulled the video out, it looks like people are going psycho. And it's like, I want to do whatever they're doing, even if I'll die. Like, I want to go do it. And I'm like, I don't know how you did that. But it's a big testament to the way he sees the world and the way you see the world. It's there's nobody else that, even the artist's perspective, each artist sees the same thing differently. And so, you know, I think about Dewey and the way he's seen this business over the years. And I mean, this whole deal started back in 1958. That's not when he started it. He picked it up from somebody else that had a vision as well, you know, and just Mr. Morris, just the way he saw how we could do business. And I just saw Dewey earlier this week. I know you've been recording with him and everything, but, you know, he's just a calm, easy dude. But he's changed the way I've looked at the world. And I know you've had interactions with him. Has there been something that you found he's influenced you in some way, something you've read of his or some conversations that he's had, that it's changed the way you see things?
Yeah, it might be surprising, but he always, especially in my early days with Casey, and him would sit down before a commercial shoot and kind of go over things. And he was, he's wise. We all know Dewey. He's wise, but he said something that was very jarring, and it was just drop the turd in the punch bowl. And he would say it all the time. And he would say it all the time. And you can ask Casey. And what he meant by that was, like, a lot of times you just need to make the decision. And in the terms of marketing, a lot of times, especially with us, you want to kind of make impact. Mm-hmm. So if we close our eyes right now and imagine, I'm just kidding, don't imagine. don't imagine that image. Don't imagine that image. But if that did happen in front of you, you would be like, what? Like, what is happening? So he'd always say, because sometimes you would do like soft openings, or you would prep things, or you would say, are we going to launch this thing? But before, and like, you're taking all the steam out of the moment, just drop it. So whether you're doing a podcast or something and you're like, I just don't know if I'm ready, I'm not, just drop the turd in the punch bowl, is what he would say.
Dang.
Until this day, it's always in the back of my mind when I'm like hesitating, or if I'm like, whatever, I just hear Dewey say, in his voice too, just drop the turd in the punch bowl, you know. Just
It is funny because it's kind of like, I don't feel like I can see him saying that. You know, it's so I think that paints a different, like, it's just like, you don't want to imagine those words coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But I do think that, and that's certainly not something that I read in Mr. Jenkins.
No. This is off the record.
This is not in there.
This stays between us.
But I think it's, I read I do think that is in Mr. Jenkins Told Me, or it's somewhere related to Dewey somehow. But I do feel like that's one thing that I've taken, same sort of thing, but like, there's never going to be a perfect time, because I certainly am the type of person to be like, okay, well, let's think about this and let's do this. I mean, you all just witnessed it, right? As I went through all of these, trying to figure out the right question to ask. But sometimes it's just about, you know, hit and send, you know, and part of making sure it says what I want to say. But no matter who it's going to, sending out an email to the whole company, whatever it is, just press send.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do.
And now it's something that I put in my head when I feel like when I feel like I'm scared to do something, or it's like, or I know what I'm going to do is going to ruffle some feathers or something. It's just like, I hear Dewey just drop it in there.
Yep.
Because it's like, whatever happens from here, something's going to happen, but good can happen from it as well.
Yeah.
But no action is not the choice.
Yep. It's not an option.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to take action on things when you want it to be right. And, you know, even from a creative perspective, you want it to capture the idea that you have in your mind, whatever you're trying to put out there into the world. So you want it to be right, and it has your name on it. It's like, I don't want to put my name out there in a bad light, but a lot of that stuff, if you just get it going, you just got to catch people's attention. And I feel like, you know, you look at Instagram or whatever, and it's a lot of people catching people's attention. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many things pop up on there, and you're just like, I wonder what that is. And then it's completely not what you thought it was, but it caught your attention. And then the thing that came after it's like, oh, that was kind of interesting. So there's so much of that stuff out there, but I recognize for a lot of people, including myself, I'm not always the person that wants to just jump out there and go for it. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure it's right. And
they say attention is the only currency now these days. Like you said, everyone wants attention. Yeah. And if you have attention, then you have everything you need. But attention is the only currency. And so when you're creating things, you want to stand out, you want to do all, but it's like, what can I do to stand out in such a crowded space?
Yeah.
Or phones,
Yeah.
the TV screen, like even the podcast, like everything is. If you can give me an hour of your ear, like that's big.
Yeah.
In today's time.
Yeah.
And that means I have your attention. Then I can, if I need to sell anything, if I need to deliver a message, a campaign, like being able to actually get people's ears and eyes is a hard thing to do in 2024.
Yeah. There's such attention overload right now. People trying to do that and grab people's attention. So it absolutely is valuable to be able to do that and do it effectively and know exactly what you're doing. Sometimes you get lucky. You know, people that I have a friend of mine, you know, he's been shooting TikTok. Well, he shot Instagram videos first and then he transitioned to TikTok. So I know TikTok's a little crazy right now, but you know, it's like he's been trying to go viral for years and he's had probably 3 videos that went semi-viral, like just took off. And, you know, he's pumped. He's like, dude, I did it. I'm like, dude, good for you, man. I remember he was trying to go, he sent messages to Ellen DeGeneres and he was trying to go on her like show. And so he's like, I'm coming. So he told her, he's like, I'm getting on a plane and I'm flying out there and I want to be on your show. And he was just like, it was like, I'm going for it. Like the whole Think Again book we've been talking about, I'm just going to go for it. Maybe something else can happen. And he shot videos and like posted it, tagged her and all the things and flew out there. Ellen DeGeneres didn't put him on a show.
No.
I don't even think he got a ticket, but he's like, I'm coming. Right. But it was like, he's trying to find the method of like capturing people's attention. And so much of that creativity is telling the story. And for him, he shot every moment. He recorded every moment of him, the posts and the videos and the dancing, and then he's like, I'm getting on the plane and then I landed, I'm here, and he took a picture in front of the Hollywood sign. And people want to follow that story. They want to be a part of that.
Yeah. And you have to love the process if you're going to do that. If you're doing it just to try to go viral, you're going to burn out. But I mean, he has to love something about that to continue to do it. Because even I try to do TikTok things sometimes, and I'll do it for a little bit, but I'm like, it really feels like work. Because I do it at work, then I got to come home and do it at home. And I'm just like, I don't want to look at it from another screen. I don't want to press record on nothing else. Yeah. So that's something. If you have a passion for it, you can make it work. But I get burnt out.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that Deuce News, because that is a Deuce News we would not have gotten anywhere else besides right here.
I think that's like tattoo worthy.
The thing is, I really hope I got it right, because if not, he's going to hear this and be like, that's not what I meant, Korey.
Korey.
That's what I took. That's what I took with the Jenkins.
You butchered it.
Okay, creative life. So, Korey, talk to us about why you chose that topic for this episode.
One, because I believe living a creative life is kind of the only way to live a good life, number one. And I think that because I feel so blessed to be creative, I think back, like even I'm getting to this point now where I'm like, I try to separate myself from being a photographer or director or anything like that, because it's like, I don't want that to be my only, like if something happened to me and I couldn't take pictures anymore, how would I feel about myself? And I would be kind of depressed. I'd be down because like that's who I am. I'm the creative guy. But I'm like, a creative life, it's hard to take that away. Even if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, like if you still have your brain or your eyes, or something you have, you can be creative with. And I think a lot of people can also do that as well. And so I want to kind of talk about how people can live a creative life and what that looks like, even as far as, you know, how you choose to play with your kid on Saturday mornings, like that you can do it creatively, like making pancakes. Like, do I, you know, it's funny, I make peanut butter jelly sandwiches for my daughter, and I always find a way to present it in a way that's very gourmet, and it's not really gourmet, but it's like I try to cut a certain way, I try to stack, I get height, I try to make it look, and she always laughs because it's like, it's just peanut butter jelly sandwich, but it's like, no, but your mom doesn't do it like this, and I cut it away. So, and that's just me being creative, because I'm not a great cook, but I love when people present a plate to you and it looks very beautiful, because that's art and creativity in that. So I'm like, let me do this with a PB&J. So that's a way that I'm creatively playing with my daughter while we make a lunch, you know what I mean? And that's something that hopefully she'll remember as when I'm gone, but it's like, that's living a creative life, you know? So I want to talk about ways that we can do that, and how we are being creative and we might not even realize it.
Yeah, because you know I can't help myself. When Korey came to my desk the other day, we talked about this a little bit, and so it's funny that I would not consider myself creative in that sense, I don't think, which is really funny for me to say that, because I would never look at someone, I would look at anybody else and be like, but you do have creative parts of you. So it's really funny that I think that about myself, that I don't consider myself creative.
Like, you would let nobody else say that, but you would say it to yourself?
Right. Yeah, it's and maybe that is part of it. And maybe there are people that are listening that define creativity as maybe artistry. So, when I think creative, I think of the arts. I think of creating something like a painting or like music or and all of those things I appreciate very deeply. I'm a lover of music. I'm a lover of art, but I myself cannot do those things. I guess I could, but it would take a whole lot of effort.
Right.
And so I think, but then I was telling you, as I was thinking about that a little bit more, I do think that there are parts of me that are creative, because, one of the things that I'm responsible for is taking information from a book or from a podcast or whatever it might be and turning it into something that I can deliver to people, whether it's through class or whether it's through a podcast, whatever it is. I think that I have been maybe not giving myself enough credit for where some of my creativity can come from.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, if we have folks out there like me who don't consider themselves creative, what can they do besides start changing their mindset about that? Because I've started to think about that a little bit differently. What would you say to those folks?
I think it would be starting with the mindset. Like, it's like, people think of creativity as if the big arts and the people paying money for things and shooting music videos, stuff like that. But like, because I personally believe that I can do anything well with given enough time and training. So if I wanted to do music, if I wanted to dance, even though I'm not a dancer, but I feel like if I had to do choreography, I could figure it out and do a pretty decent job, because I feel like I just naturally, I work that creative muscle enough. Or I've listened to enough podcasts, I've watched enough people, I respect those people that do the thing. So I know, what's the saying? Rob might know the saying, but people, they say, if you know how hard it is to do something, you have more respect for it. But the amateur is like, I can do that, it's easy, because you really don't know what it takes to do it. And I think because I respect artists and I'm really involved, I get to see a lot of people and I'm like, wow, that's a great poet, or he's a writer. I know why. This is why he's great, because he's able to do this and that. So I think if you start to study creativity more, I think you get to see, okay, it's not that hard, but there are some secret sauces in there that I don't have yet, but I see it. And once you start to see it long enough, you're like, okay, well, now I can start implementing it in a way in my life that I couldn't do 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is there a secret sauce for you that you're seeing right now that you're like, man, I would like to tap into that? Because I think we've all seen, you see a basketball player and you're like, wow, like their dribbling skills or whatever it is. Or I'll see one of the managers here just eloquently go through a presentation or coach somebody in just such a gentle but persistent way. Is there a secret sauce that you're seeing right now in the creative world that you're like, I want to tap into what that is?
From a film standpoint, I see that I feel like I've reached my ceiling as far as doing everything myself. I think I've gotten as high as I can, and things still look great doing it myself, but I think the next level of film requires a team and people and other creatives that are the best at their thing. So having the best cinematographer. So like now, the next level is you go above the line, where people below the line are kind of the jobs that like audio or whatever, but above the line is the director, the producer, and those kind of people. And it's like, I touch the camera, I do everything. But on a big film set, there's rules. Like, you can't, if you do lighting, you can't touch anybody's lights, you can't touch anybody's sound. Everybody has a job. And I think the sauce for good looking movies and commercials is that they have people who are the best at what they do on their team. And so I don't have to worry about everything because I know that Rob got it, because I know that Meredith's got it. I think that's the secret sauce for me that I want to tap into more, not being so I can do it all, but because there are things I'm not great at that I can kind of put down, but I don't put them down because it's like, I can do it, it's mine. So I think once I get to that level, or try having more people around me that are really the best that they do, I think it'll go to another level. Yeah. And that'll be my secret sauce.
So it sounds like more towards the director, like stepping outside of those zones is the next zone for you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think there's a really cool balance there too of you being able to say, like, I'm good at this, but I recognize that there could be someone else who could either be better or bring a different viewpoint or a different layer of expertise. I think that's a really nice balance there of recognizing, like, I've got skills and I've got talent in this area. I was reading an article about creativity in the workplace. Shocker to no one. But it talked about that, how creativity is very much, or can be very much a social type of interaction between people. Like, someone comes up with this idea or this concept, like you were talking about before, and then they bring that to other people, and then this person says, well, what about this? And this person says, well, what about that? Oh, we could do the lighting like this. We could do the audio like this. And before you know it, this one little idea or this one concept that you have has now just blossomed into something so different because you've tapped into the resources of so many other people. I think really what the article was getting at is that that's such a critical skill. I don't know, currently, and rethinking, I would say, I think it's a talent, but that it's to have in the workplace, you know, because if we also do it here, there's lots of people here with lots of really great ideas. So I think that's interesting how we can be thinking, you know, there comes a certain place where other people's geniuses we start to need them.
Yeah, and it should make sense if you think about Taylor Swift or Drake or anybody. Like, yes, they're amazing artists, but they probably have the best producers around them, the best songwriters around them. Their team, I can just bounce an idea off of this person. With this guy, he has his own thing. So it's like, it makes sense if you really think about it. They're not up there by themselves in the booth, just by themselves, nobody. They have everybody around them to also elevate them. So I think that's, like you said, along the lines of what you're saying, is one way that, you know, we could continue to create great things and have that secret sauce. The secret sauce isn't in just you.
Yeah.
Is being able to use the people around you, the resources.
Yeah. You sent us a podcast on being with Rick Rubin, who I didn't really know who he was, but I'd heard of his label, and, you know, it was really interesting listening to how the host was just dissecting his past and his history. And you sent it to us, and I was listening to it, and he said both of them said so many striking things, and I was like, I've got to read his book just to see. But he says the real practice of an artist is their way of being in the world. And I feel like what you just said a minute ago, with you having to work that creative muscle, when you work it enough, you start to see things in that way. So how often do you find yourself just naturally finding yourself in those, you know, artistry moments and seeing the world through that lens of just like true art out there? And then what would you have to offer our listeners if they're wanting to tap into that creative spirit? Like, how do they do that?
I would say just notice everything, notice things, because there's times where it's like, I'll just sit and be like, oh, I love the way the light's coming through the window right now. And granted, I'm visual, so it's probably helps me to be that way, but I'll just say, look how the light's coming in, and I'll just kind of just marvel at it. And I marvel at it, and also figure out how can I recreate this look if I had to shoot it in a film, because that's what I do. So I think just really noticing what's around you is a blessing and a curse, though, because I can't watch a movie the way that most people watch movies, because I'm looking at how did they like the scene, or I saw that cut, or that was clever, or how did they like this? This looks amazing. Or they're really on set, or is it green screen? Like, I'm always like looking from a technical standpoint. And people say that about music too. If you're into music, you can't hear music the same, because you can tell which note they didn't hit or whatever. But I think it's really just about noticing what's around you, because creativity is around us all the time. and then also being able to find out who is creative and find out where they got their creativity from. I think in one of the books that we read, that we talked about Still Like an Artist, you talked about your family tree, and finding your favorite artist and go finding who their favorite artist is. And before you know it, you'll find out where they got their stuff from, and you're like, okay, well, I thought you were the greatest, which you are great, but the person, you kind of stole that from him, and he stole that from him, and it's like, it's for everybody. If you're aware enough, your personal awareness, you have to be open to the universe, open to what life gives you, and then also you have to do the work to actually go out and find ways to learn and just take in whatever you can. There's plenty of times where I have no interest in a certain thing, but I'll still watch it, or I'll still kind of, at least give me 10 minutes of it, this documentary, just to see what's going on, just so I can find a way how to put that into my own life. Or I'll do experiences that I'm not really crazy about, but it's like, I want to see what it feels like to be in a mosh pit. Because one day I might need to write a story, or I might need to write a song or poetry, or I have to film a mosh pit scene. And it's like, oh yeah, when I was 18, I went to this thing. It wasn't the greatest, but man, it's hot in there. Protect yourself. I've done it before. I can write about it. I can tell emotions from a place because I've also been there. Not saying you have to do everything once, but you should definitely try to live a full life to be able to then create from that life.
Yeah, that part of that book was freeing to me, I guess. When you're exploring this creative side, it doesn't mean a finished product that is original and new and no one's ever done before. It can be, I pulled from here and here and here. I love this idea and this idea and this idea. And you can take them all and put them together in your own way. And that can be creative too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this new wild thing that just I have created myself.
And how freeing is that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to create the next big thing. I can just go create something. Because that mountain's huge. If it's like, I need you to create the greatest thing you've ever seen before.
Right.
Pressure, man.
Yeah.
Pressure.
That mountain is huge.
Yeah. The Still Like an Artist book, there was one piece in there, and they were just talking about the gentleman liked to draw and write things with pen and pencil. And he says, I don't like to erase it. I like to write it out. And if I like it or not, I'll scratch it out. But it still lives on the page, because sometimes you go back to the idea and you're like, actually, if I could tweak this. He says he doesn't like to go to the computer and type it out because it kills dreams and ideas by, it's not perfect. I'm going towards a more permanent product by deleting it and using my computer and having it to be right versus actually seeing the creative process.
Yeah.
And that made me think about when you're painting. If I'm painting something, especially if it's a collage, how many accidents and mistakes are on that collage that you're like, that's not the way I wanted it, and I can fix it by doing this, and it actually, in fact, makes the product even
much
more
better
beautiful than the way it was before. So I really like how they talked about that in there. I didn't really think about it like that.
Yeah, and I would recommend everybody get an easel and a paintbrush and something and do that. Do something abstract. Don't try to create a self-portrait. Do something abstract. And you'll find that same thing happens, because I've done that where it's like, I've been painting and I wanted this, but I messed up and now I can't erase. So let's try another one. Let's try it. And before I know it, it's like, I would never have found this color red before, because this is from all the mistakes. It created this red. I didn't create this red. And I think that is a fun exercise to do, actually.
Yeah.
If you ever want to try and do that.
Yeah, I think it just made me think of, so my daughter Leah, she has quite the area upstairs in our TV room where she does her artistic endeavors. And there's paint everywhere, and there's paper towels everywhere, and there's cups filled with dirty water from paints everywhere.
I can see that this is the ideal environment for you. Mom, I'm an artist.
Right?
Back off. This is what we do.
Right?
And so I just walk by that table and try not to. It's made worse because there's also 25 socks on the floor, last night's ice cream bowl. So it's not
just the art.
It's not just the art.
No, that's inspiration.
Those socks on the floor. So, but it's funny, as you were saying that, she wanted some canvas and paints and things like that. So she has them, and so sometimes I'll just come up there and see what she's working on. And I think it's so interesting that maybe she's learning some of these things. Obviously, she goes to art at school, but like the other day, she took a piece of tape and she taped her initial on the canvas, and then painted around it, and then she kind of threw dots of paint on the on there with the tape on it, and then she took the tape off. Yeah. And so I was like, did somebody teach you how to do that? Like, have you seen somebody do that before? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh, I'm like, dang, where is that in me? And so it's I believe that as children, we were likely in that headspace more often, because, like I said, nobody told her to do that. Nobody showed her to do that. She just figured it out. It's like I likely did things, maybe not with the paint and things, and doing things that no one ever taught me. So I think it's just interesting now to do some reflection back on that and kind of wonder where that part was there.
It was in you somewhere.
Yeah. So kind of where is that part now?
It's still there. I've seen you dance in the. Korey, I don't know if you've how many classes you've been to, but she's playing some throwback jams in there, and I walk in and she's doing her thing, and she turns around, well, welcome to the class, and she keeps on going. You and Shalom. Yes,
dancing is. I'm pretty sure there's research on that. When you're dancing, you're not sad. So I'm pretty sure that's a fact.
Or just moving your body in general. I
yes.
think it defeats depression and all that. So I think just in general, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. I had on here, too, this goes back to something else you said, because I was looking for some facts and data to support.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but it's you said this. You didn't even know it. So you're practically a scientist,
Our listeners won't be surprised about this data.
The openness to experience, which you were talking about, the openness to experience has been correlated with creativity. People high in this trait are more open to new experiences and ideas. So when you kind of cultivate that newness, new experience, that directly ties to then how you can kind of bring that to other areas of your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's, if our listeners are wondering, that's one thing you can start doing, is cultivating that openness or that willingness to try something new, or to go, like you brought up the idea of the mosh pit. It's so funny. I would have never even thought to go do that.
Right.
But it makes sense to have those experiences if you feel like at some point it's gonna be to an advantage for you.
Yeah. And that's so not me, because I wouldn't do a mosh pit either, but it was going on and I could see it, and I was like, there's something about this is human, it's real, it's raw, and it's like, I got to get some of that just for a little bit. And it was, and I know what it feels like. I don't want to do it again, but it's still like, I can use this somehow, and I may not, or it may be when I'm 68 and I'm writing my last memoir. It's like, oh yeah, and
that mosh pit.
Did
you say you have done that, or that's on the list of things to do?
That's on the list. So I've done it adjacent. It was like, there's like a main one, and then there's like outskirts ones.
A mini mosh.
I went into mini mosh, and that was enough for me.
Hey, if you ever want to go attend one, I can guarantee you Mark Hagel will take you straight up to a Korn concert, and it's happening.
Oh.
He and I have been trying to get into Sleep Token. Have you heard of them before? Oh man, expand your.
And look, I'm all for that. at least once.
It's an interesting band. He told me about them months ago, and I was like, I'll listen to them. It's kind of like an interesting melodic rock, and their backstory is really interesting too. And he's like, man, we got, he's like, you got to listen to this band. So I started listening to it, and I love it now. I was talking to Tristan in IT.
Yeah.
I just randomly was talking to him. He loves rock music too, and he was like, Sleep Token, dude. I'm like, I've been trying to get into one of their concerts, but apparently some of their concerts can get a little crazy too. But just experiencing those different types of environments, they can expand your horizons, even if it's in a mini mosh. I don't think I would want to be in the big mosh on that one.
No, I don't want to. But Randall was big on music too. Really? And he's been some. I went to a show with him a couple months ago, and he's another guy. If y'all want to go to something, he knows a lot about a lot of things music wise.
He does.
So that's someone to talk to about that. I don't know if rock's his thing, but he has a very vast feel for music. So
yeah, me and him were talking a lot about music or really more focused on sound and movies. He was telling me about Dune that came out, the second one, and he was telling me about where to sit in the movie theater for optimal sound, and then he was telling me a little bit about
that's cool.
Apparently, you don't want to sit in the front, and you don't want to
because your neck will hurt.
Yeah, why would you want to do that? I mean, unless you're late, and we know Meredith will be late. But he was saying you can sit 3/4 of the way up, or sometimes closer to the top. The sound where the speakers are actually set, there's an optimal location for where the actual sound comes in.
Wow.
Then we just started talking about the movie and like how movies are created. It's very obvious that they're doing that just specifically for you. But then in certain movies, they don't need to tell you all that stuff. They tell you what you need to know, and you can either create it in your mind, or if you listen to the rest of the story throughout, you can put those puzzle pieces together or not.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
I don't need another Spider-Man backstory. We know, you know what I mean? But you have new kids that haven't heard Spider-Man, so they got to give you a little. It's getting shorter and shorter now.
Yeah.
But they used to always go backstory. Somebody's going to die. This happens, but they gotta kind of do that for new people. But I don't want another backstory. We know Spider-Man. We know what happens. Let's get to the action.
We know. And there's so many books and other movies out. If you really want to get it, people have access to that now. And I do feel like if you don't understand something, how often are you whipping out your phone to go look it up?
Yeah.
How many movies have you seen that have the end credit scene that you're not going to sit there for the 2 minutes and wait for the credits? You just pull up, is there an end credit scene in this, so you see if you want to stay or not.
Do I want to be surprised or not?
Yeah. Or you're like, dang it, I just sat in here for 5 minutes reading all these people's names that I'll never remember just to find out that there is not one. It's so sad.
So I guess another question I have for you, Korey, because of this creative aspect, what do you feel like that brings to people's like, if I'm going to put my dancing shoes back on, or I'm going to buy myself a canvas and use Leah's paints that she leaves out all over the playroom, what do I get out of that? What are the things that, because now that this has been fresh on my mind, I see the validity in me getting back to some of those things that I used to really enjoy doing, dance being one of them. Besides the physical activity that would provide, which would help me with my situation of how I'm breathing deeply when I get up the steps. What do people get from that?
Yeah, I mean, before even that, I would say you have to get rid of the expectation of wanting to create something good, right? You just got to play. So I think a lot of people would try that, and it's like, oh, that painting was really bad, or that I suck, or this you'll be down on yourself really quick, and it's like, no, this is playtime. Don't think of that I have to create this. I don't have to create this dance that's like the new hot thing. It's like, let me move my body, let me feel good. Don't even record it, like just move and feel good. So I think that's the first thing, is don't be too concerned about the outcome, especially when you're first starting out. And then I think out of it, I think you might just find just a new lease on life. Like you might just have sometimes we're down and don't know why we're down. We feel away, we don't know why we feel away. It feels mundane, but it's really because we haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is my playtime. So not only am I now a great mom and I do good at work and I'm a great wife, but I also have some playtime for myself that I like to just have fun with. So I think that's really the main thing. Because again, if you're not trying to be the LeBron of basketball, then go have fun.
Yeah. And
then from there, with fun, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I'm actually really good. And then let me show a friend, and the friend's like, yo, you're really good. And it's like, can I get on TikTok? And then, and all of a sudden you go viral, and it's like, yo, the world thinks I'm good. I didn't even think that. I wasn't trying, you know? And that's obviously what you want to happen. But again, if it doesn't happen, that should not be the reason you stop either.
Yeah, that going back to one thing, I don't remember where this was on my list of notes, but Rick Rubin, he talked about that as well. Is like, write the book or do the thing that you want to read. Do the dance that you want to do, or do the painting that you want to. He talks about, your art is your love. If other people like it, that's great, but it's about you, not others.
Yeah.
It's more of an individual thing than it is. You don't do it for the necessarily gaining attention from it, per se.
He has a great quote that in the book that says the audience comes last when you're creating art. Because if you're doing it with the audience in mind, it's not going to be your true art because you're doing it for somebody else. So the audience comes last when you're creating something, because if you're a great artist, I want what you're giving to the world. Don't give to the world what you think I want from the world, because I'm coming to you. You're the artist.
Right.
Tell me what I want. So there's a difference between creating art and then creating like content.
Yes.
And so I'm right now at work. I create content. But if I do something for my own, I can create art.
Yeah.
Man, how do you balance that though? I mean, if marketing and what we're doing here, I mean, it is art, but also it's goal based. Of you got to think about your audience. How do you balance those two things?
You have to know when. What's the song? Know when to fold them.
Yeah.
But there's times when me and Casey have conversations, and there's things that I'm not really feeling, or things that I don't want to shoot, or things whatever. But it's like in the day, it's like, tell me I have to do it. Korey, you have to do it. Awesome. Then I'll go do this, and it's going to be the best of my ability, and I can kind of separate myself from it and create the best that I can create from this structure they built for me, right? They say creativity is its best when you have boundaries, and Dewey always said that as well. He's like, here's your boundary, or here's what we need. Because if you give someone, and I think it's in one of the books, if you give someone all the paint in the world, all the money in the world, all the colors, all the and say, go create this, you're going to be paralyzed, because it's like, I have all the money, I have all the colors, what am I going to create? But it's like, hey, we have $50. Need you go to the art store, get what you can. I need you to create this, and you'll be done in 30 minutes. Here's what I created, and it's done, because you need those parameters. So part of that, Casey puts parameters on things, and from there, I was like, all right, well, I got to go get it done.
Yeah, and I'm sure because well, I'm not sure, but I would imagine, and it sounds like you also in your outside of work life, if you can't bring Dewey Jenkins superhero to life here,
right,
you have other outlets
to do
outside of here where you can kind of just let those pieces pour into other places.
Yeah, the art can happen outside of work. And I'm blessed to be in a position where creativity is my job, but it's still not my creativity. It's my creativity, but it's still not the things that I want to do.
Right.
It's still a job in that sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything to be able to kind of, the real blessing is to make money doing something you love.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the exact thing you want to do, it's in the realm of that.
Yeah.
I think you take your win and go home, because a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in there. He says you have your 9 to 5, and some of us, I feel the same way. Some of us are truly blessed to be in a role where we get to, we talk about in First Break All the Rules, I get to do what I'm best at every day. I mean, that doesn't sound very humble. I'm not saying that I'm the best at what I do.
No. It sounded great.
It's like I feel so blessed that I get to be in a space where at least I get to do what I feel like I'm pretty good at.
No,
We're in here doing a podcast.
I was getting ready to say, we got the lamps on. It's like it feels good.
Mood lighting going on in here. You get to teach people tech talks, all the things. Lunch and learn. You get paid to feed people.
Yeah.
I know.
Shoot.
Food too.
Yeah.
But I think not everybody does have the opportunity to be in a place where they can do what they love every day. They can use their talents every day that way. So I think it's really cool when we get to see those two things marry in the workplace. But then I also think there's a lot to, because I think this is where I fall a little bit short with pursuing things outside of here. I may be creative in coming up with an activity for a lesson or whatever, but there's other pieces that I don't think I'm tapping into, and that's what he said in there. You got your 9 to 5,
right,
and we got to put food on the table, but in the after, then tap into that some way, somehow. Figure out that time for yourself, like you were saying, whether it's going on a walk and just noticing. We've talked about that on here before. Just walk outside and don't put your AirPods in. Don't listen to music. Don't Don't just be by yourself
Yeah.
and just take everything in. How I don't know that I can't even tell you. I don't think I've ever done that. And just really take it all in. I think I could do a better job, I think, at trying to at least be open to those new experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for those, I mean, it's really for anybody. I mean, not everybody gets to do the thing that they just absolutely love every day. Hopefully we can all find that. I know I absolutely love what I do, but when everybody goes home and sits down and does nothing.
Yeah.
So you got to find your time to push yourself forward. So even if the daily is not exactly ideal, you still have the 5 to 9 to do something. And even if you have a family, which a lot of people do, hey, spend a few hours with your family and do your thing. And then when they go to bed, you got an hour and a half to be creative or play, like you said, have some fun. But I mean, life's too short to just continue to live in that same lifestyle and just be like, man, I just don't have the time. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that have found the time and have created some beautiful things. Or, I mean, they always say we all have the same amount of time, and some people are doing the things that they want to
In that time period.
Yeah, so you gotta find the time, but it ultimately comes down to that choice of, am I going to make the time for myself even when I don't want to? I think that's important.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to something you said earlier because I wanted to ask you who would be in that tree. So the Steal Like an Artist book talks about, you have your people that, hey, this person inspires me, and you create like this giant tree, almost like a family tree of all these people that inspire me, because ultimately you at the bottom, they all funnel into your creativity. Who would be these people in your life? It could be in the artist world or just in they've inspired me world. Who would be these people in this family tree that have inspired you to who you are today?
I mean, because all other names I could name, nobody would know, but I will say, and it's probably cliche, but it would be Mr. Jenkins and I guess Roy, which was a guy that we worked with closely in marketing when I first started here. Because a lot of their practices I've consumed, and it's in me, and I can't undo it, to the point where sometimes me and Casey have a conversation and we'll just start speaking in a language that doesn't really make sense if you don't know. It's like all contextual inside stuff, because we've been around it so much in his teachings when it comes to marketing. But so I think Mr. Jenkins is a big part of that, and I really didn't think I would say that, but it just hit me just now that is not because we're here, but when I think about marketing, and if I ever had to go to marketing somewhere else, I would be bringing a lot of what Mr. Jenkins talked about and Roy talked about into that, because it's in me now, and I can't unlearn it. So that's one of the trees that's probably, when you talk about a big tree, it's probably the next root up. It's like, this is over me, and it's the most thing that I've been in for the past 10 years. So it's definitely part of me, and I this is like therapy. I didn't see that coming, but it happened.
Here we are,
live.
We do what we can.
Right. Kai, That's the end of the show, guys.
And cut.
The invoice is in the mail.
Korey, would you say, when it comes to Mr. Jenkins, because he is such an inspirational person on so many levels, when it came to his marketing, I mean, if he's such an influence in that, did you find that like he naturally had that? Was it a learned skill for him that he passed on? Was he really good at drawing that out of you? Because like sometimes you find managers, they may not have they don't always have the prowess in that area, but they're really good at grabbing the right people and inspiring them to create. Like, what would you say was his jam in that?
Yeah, I think he has a natural ability to understand marketing and what works in the market, or what's happening now, and how to kind of go against that. And then, of course, his time with Roy and what they did there really probably helped as well. But I think it's innately in him. There's a story that I remember back maybe like 2015. We were still at the old building, and I created this video, and me and Casey went to go show it to Dewey, and he's watching it, and he has this look on his face, and I've never seen a look before, and it was not pleasant. And he watched the whole thing, and he was quiet for a second, and so I'm like, okay. And then he was just like, he didn't like it at all, and that never happens. He was just like, this isn't it. This is not it. This is happening. And he and Casey kind of picked me up, because she could tell it was like, all right, don't worry about it. It's whatever. But but he was right in a sense. Dewey's kind of always right. in a way. It's weird. He's always right. Even when he's not right, he comes right. So,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's really cool. I think I've never considered that portion, I guess, because I'm so tapped into the Dewey about the fundamentals and how he built the business. And then now it's almost like I'm seeing a different, even this other side of him that I didn't even know was there. Further proves that he was a genius.
He understands marketing. He understands people. He understands business.
Yeah.
And he understands principles. And he always says, or again, him and Roy are the same person, but he always said that people don't change. Well, I guess that's in one of the books, right? Yeah.
Yeah, people don't change very much.
Yeah. And he, it's one thing to know things, but he lived by those principles.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes him good and everything, because it does work. Because things don't change.
Yep.
Yeah.
So creatively, if I know things don't change, if I can create something or see somebody create something in the 1940s that worked, there's a way I can channel whatever that was and remix it into something that's going now, and it'll work now. Okay.
Yeah, going back to what you said about when Dewey was kind of looking at that and you were having a moment and like Casey was having to like, it's fine, everything's fine. I would think that as an artist, someone who creates things, we're not talking about choreographing in my bedroom. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like you're putting your work out to the world. What is that like? Because that scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah. I always say artists are the most confident and insecure people you ever meet. Because it's both sides of that sword. You got to kind of have a little bit of confidence about you to move around the world and say, hey, this is my art. But also be nice when you talk about it, because I'm going to feel away if you feel away. So,
and that's as Dewey's looking at you in that way, she's like, don't look him in the eyes, Corey. Just don't look him in the eyes. Because it's coming.
Because it's coming. She saw it coming. I was like, what's happening? And she's like, no, just.
Is he okay? Why is he looking like that? I've never seen that before.
Look away.
Yeah, that was, he said, I don't know if that's really what he meant in the book, but one of the things that stood out to me, which you and I talked about, was you'll need curiosity, which we've kind of already talked about, that openness, kindness, stamina to stick with it, and a willingness to look stupid. He said that in Steal Like an Artist, and I was like, well, if that ain't the truth for everything, like that seems to me like kind of like the truth for anything that you're doing in life.
For life, yeah.
Curiosity, kindness, stamina, and a willingness to look stupid. And I would imagine that willingness to look stupid is difficult for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, every product you put out there, there's always that potential that's always there. And even listening to that podcast with Rick Rubin and then reading the book, it's like there's always going to be a potential that things don't go right. And they were saying like sometimes you think something is banging, like this is going to be good, and it's not. And surprisingly, the things that you thought were just okay or like this isn't great, people are like, yo, how did you come up with that? I think the other side in reading the book, Think Again, they were talking about imposter syndrome and like balancing the whole thing between, in that he challenges and says imposter syndrome is actually a good thing in that it challenges you to think about what you did and be like, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I think. Am I really the best in this? And it forces you to work even harder.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is people that are on the opposite end of like hyper confidence, like I'm the best thing you've ever seen, and they're not even willing to hear what changes need to be made because like I've done something good. And so the book suggests like having a balance between those two and knowing like, hey, I think I did a good job with this, but then also it's like, but then I'm also open to the feedback. Be nice.
Yeah.
But it's like, you want the feedback to know how can I change this, and so.
Yeah, and I think it's just knowing that I'm not there yet. Like I'm 34 and I've just recently created something and I was like, I'm proud of myself. But all these years I've been creating good stuff, but I've never personally been like, oh, I like that. So if it took me over 12, 15 years to finally say, pat myself on the back, that means it's a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on that. So if I know that, and I know how much I don't know, and I'm out here faking, Like I feel that. It's like we all are, but I'm like, because I know that I'm out here just trying to do the best I can, and I'm not classically trained. I taught myself everything. There's ways things are done that I might be doing the hard way, but I'm getting it done. So I think just knowing that I'm not this famous Hollywood director, that I shouldn't have any type of ego about what I'm creating. And also, I love when I can lean on someone else versus kind of shutting them down, almost to a fault. If somebody if we're filming something and somebody says, hey, I think that, we should tuck your shirt in, or I think we should do something like minor. I've been on some sets where they're like, don't talk to me. Like, I know what I'm doing. Oh. This is I'm this, and people just shut up and they let it happen. I'm never that way, because it's like I can miss things, and I appreciate insight. Sometimes I'm trying to take in so much information. I'm looking at lighting. I'm worried about lines. I'm worried about how they're looking. I'm worried about the sun's about to move in 5 seconds. I got to get, there's so much at one time that I'm going to miss something. So I like to lean on people, and even to the point where it's like, I appreciate you, but I just give me 5 minutes to just do this real quick. I say that, but I'm the opposite of that. I invite it in on a collaborative level, because I know that there's been times where it saved me, where it's like, oh, I'm glad I listened to her, because this looks way better now. And I still get the recognition. The client doesn't know that she helped me with this, or like they just say, good job, Korey. And I'm like, I appreciate that. But then I'm like, yo, I appreciate you. You saved me all that.
I'll pay you later.
Right? I totally missed that he had a dip can in his pocket or something, and you could just see it, and it's like, oh, that looked bad. And stuff like that, where it's like, I appreciate you saving me.
No, that's authentic. They're just showing up how they are.
So right? As they are, right? And then we got to reshoot it, because you can see the brand name perfect. Through his pants or whatever. Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, it's refreshing to hear that, because of, I'm not in the the film scene, but you've heard it time and time again where you have a director who's just a tyrant, and maybe they are classically trained, or they have years and years and years of experience, but they've just turned into this beast that you don't even want to work for, but they're known for their great products. Yeah, and it's like, how have they done that by themselves this whole time? They're not even listening to anybody. So it's refreshing to hear from you, like, I'm not classically trained, and I'm happy to hear feedback, and like having that good balance. No doubt, wherever your journey leads in that you're going to be a fantastic director. Like, I'm excited to see that journey for you. Yeah, you have those skills and those talents and that humbleness. It's pretty cool to see.
Appreciate that. And when you want to be the best, you're a sponge. So it's like, you're people that are very cocky, and I got the way, and it's like you're hindering yourself. Even if you are that guy, you're still hindering yourself, because you want to be open and soft to what the universe is giving you. And if you're so carnal and hard, you're going to block a lot of things that can kind of open up doors for you.
Yeah, totally. Man, my mind did not work in this way before we reached out to Korey, and he was like, hey, let's talk about creativity. And I'm like, I like creativity, but then I'm like, I didn't think about all these things.
Listen, we already knew from the very beginning this was not my jam. But I will say it has really made me think about some things that, just like I was saying, made me think about, how am I tapping in, when I get home in the afternoons, which I had a quote from James Clear. I want to read that in just a second, but we talk about the hamster wheel all the time, the hamster wheel of life, And I love that saying. I've never heard you say that. What are you doing in your 5 to 9? How did I miss that? But am I just letting that kind of go by? Yeah. This feeling you were talking about when we feel stuck, or we feel like something, because I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't exercising that part of my brain.
Yeah. Procrastinator, something like that. It's like productive procrastinator. You have 4 or 5 projects open, so when you get bored with one, or you're just not feeling it, like you said, then you can move on to the next one. You can still keep on going. And then it says somewhere, my mind is all like meshed together with all these things now. Creativity. It's an artist brain.
Welcome.
Here we are. But they were saying, like, do boring things. Go for a walk, a long walk, and or just go sit outside and just bask and take it all in. And what you were saying earlier, and just it's a practice of life. Like, everything's art. You said that yesterday. Everything's art. As we were sitting here talking, it's like you could see everything through an artist's lens. There's a thermostat behind Meredith's head right now. It's It doesn't work, by the way. They lie to us and say, yeah, set your temperature for your office or your room, and it don't work.
The illusion of control.
Yes,
Right?
That's what it is. It makes me feel good when I push it, even though it's red. It's at 80, but it's 72 in here. But like, how did they choose the color of that? I'm sure there's someone that determined, hey, we're not going to make it like stark white. We're going to make it more cream colored. Is that going to blend in with more walls and more businesses? Hey, we're going to make the screen more rectangular shape versus square shape. And then the curvature of the top of it is not flat. It's more rounded. How do they choose how curved to make that? And then everything can be art.
Everything's art. Everything's a creative choice most times. And then nature, it's the perfect art because it's like, this tree is going to grow how it's going to grow, and there's nothing you can do about it. And like the way the water ripples when something, like, it's just natural art that the earth gives you. And then as humans, everything's a creative choice, which I try to think about. Like sometimes, like, why did they make that choice? Now there are happy accidents, of course, but everything. If you look at everything you see, like you said, everything you see in the world, somebody designed it. And why?
And to be the way that it is.
In the way it is.
Dude, Rick Rubin said something in that podcast, and I was like, what? He said, the world is the doer, and we are the witness. We have little or no control over the content. I was like, dang, son.
Gosh. That's so good. That's so good.
Man.
I was listening. He was giving me Korey. Rick Rubin was giving me Korey vibes.
For real?
Yeah, I love to hear that. I need to start. I need to grow my hair out. Have you seen it? I need to grow my hair out. I need to stop wearing shoes. I'm just gonna be a yogi.
Korey is by far. I mean, Korey's by far the most like just swaggered dude walking around this office. His outfits are always fitted right. These shoes that he's wearing today. How did you pick that? I remember asking Korey, I'm like, how do you come up with all these outfits and styles? He's like, I just mix and match them, man. I go into the store. That's it. And he'll just like buy it and come in here. I'm like, dude, how do you even come up with that? Got his pants rolled up in here like that. Randall's stylish up in here. I'm like, I can't even get close to these guys. I'm over here with my Morris-Jenkins shirt on and my jeans I've worn on Fridays.
So the last creative tip that I'll give along those same lines is, and part of this is what Dewey and the people we talked about, is you got to create 3 things. 2 of them go together, 1 doesn't. So that's the kind of ratio you want. 3 things, 2 go, and 1's kind of like, I didn't think that fits, but it kind of fits. And that's how you create like a style or something that's not just uniform. It's still put together, but you have that one odd thing that's like, well, I didn't think that would go together. Well, that's kind of off. So, and you can put that, whether you're clothes, whether you're designing a room, an office, something where it's like, I wouldn't have chose that, but nice shoes,
Huh.
Or I wouldn't have chose that, but green, red hat. Why the red hat? You could have just put a green hat on.
He's like,
I could have.
I'm glad you asked.
Right, here you go.
Dewey said.
Dude, Mr. Jenkins told me.
Who's Dewey? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting.
Heck yeah.
Maybe I'll have Korey come over and decorate some of my house.
That'd be an
though. I think it's by somebody else, but I didn't write her name down. So.
Steal everything.
Yep, this was worth stealing. The producer of old age is habit. The deathly process of doing the same thing in the same way at the same hour, day after day, first from carelessness, then from inclination, at last from cowardice or inertia. Habit is necessary, but it is the habit of having careless habits, of turning a trail into a rut, that must be incessantly fought against if one is to remain alive. One can remain alive long past the usual date of disintegration if one is unafraid of change, insatiable in intellectual curiosity, interested in big things, and happy in small ways.
Wow.
I was like, I felt like that spoke from what I've done in preparing for this podcast and from listening to you and hearing you speak. That spoke so much to me, is like the hamster wheel of life, the habits, right? We get into a habit, we do the things, we do them, and without stopping, we just let those habits kind of run our lives until our lives are over.
Yeah.
And I loved, even though that was really a mouthful, unafraid of change, insatiable in intellectual curiosity, interested in big things, and happy in small ways. like looking at yourself and your habits and seeing if those things are helping you to, like, are you making the trail into a rut, or are you taking some different trails?
Yeah.
Which I think that just kind of spoke to me about this.
Yeah.
Is I feel like maybe I'm making my trail into a rut. So I think I need to be a little bit more self-reflective about how I could go a few different ways.
Find a way to be a bit more intentional, and that's why I think vacation's important for creatives, which is kind of changing the pattern.
Yep.
And then finding a way, because we always feel when we're on vacation, we're like, should we move here? This is amazing. I feel great. It's because it's mainly just because it's something new.
Yeah.
But how can we change that in Charlotte? Instead of go uptown for a staycation for 1 weekend, or like take a different way to work.
Yep.
When I joined the new gym, I was like, this is a new me. This feels, look at me.
I like this.
I like this gym. Look at this lighting. It feels good in here. The people in here are attractive. Like, this is a good gym. The Planet Fitness was horrible, but
Planet Fitness is
it was so bad. But that little bit of change, I felt like, oh man, this is the new me. I'm gonna hit my gains. I'm gonna be good. But it's really, like you said, it's breaking up the mundane and trying something new. And so creatively, it does something to me where I'm like, oh, this is. I feel inspired.
Yeah, feeling energized by that.
Korey, when you think about, that book, it says "Steal Like an Artist." I thought that was such an interesting name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that did make a lot of sense to me, because I always think artistry is typically coming up with some authentic, original thing. But reading that, it's like there's so many things that are contrary to that, because they always say there's nothing new under the sun, right? And then what was fascinating to me, and I know I talked to you about this, but it was talking about like what's in your swiped file. Like, what have you swiped that you've taken from somebody that you're like, I'm storing this for later, or like, hey, this has inspired me. Has there been certain artists out there that have inspired you that you've like swiped certain things, or like, has there been certain styles of things? You have like paintings that there's certain types of paintings that are out there. Has there been some things that are in your, what the heck is in your swipe file?
Yeah,
what's in your swipe file?
I have two. I have a TikTok one, I have an Instagram one, but literally, and it can be a normal photo, but something in the background triggers something, and I'm like, I need to save this because something's happening that way. Or a funny thing that happens is I'll hear something wrong, but it sounded good, and it's like, oh, that's a good name for this. Or it's like, I keep a lot of, like, I have so many categories of like just camera stuff, marketing, advertising, cars, like everything. I have everything labeled out, and sometimes I just go back through them and just go back through my stuff and say, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's very important, because they talk about keeping a notepad or journal in there.
Right.
Mine is just my digital one, but it runs deep. And I try to practice when I'm on a plane or going somewhere and I'm just bored. I go through my own stuff again, because so many times we hoard, which I think they talk about that in it too, hoarding instead of collecting. But I have so many things in there, and it's like, let me just go back and study me, because I chose all this stuff for a reason. Let me go back and see if I'm still triggered by what I saw, and because again, there's so many distractions and people throwing things at you. There's so much content out there that it's easy to just get swallowed up in just like the mess of things. But I think as an artist, it's very important to kind of have your thing. And I don't think there's anything like specifically that I have in there where it's like, this is one thing. I mean, I know Pharrell is one of my like people I look up to, as far as just his music, his style, it's art. I mean, he's a creative, true and true. Steve Stout, he's head of the an ad agency in New York City, and my dream is to have an ad agency or something like that, and he does great work as well. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Of course, when I leave here, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this person and this person. But really, the big thing to me is I follow people, but I'm really bigger on the ideas and bigger on the creative of what they did.
Right.
Because I believe in separating the artist from the work. You have to, because one, people are flawed, and if you hold them to that, then you're not going to have anything to enjoy in this world, because people are people. So being able to separate the artist from the art, the artist can be, because I mean, Kanye is one of my guys, but sometimes I'm like, all right, I've had enough of you, but this album speaks to me, that kind of stuff. So Kanye is one of them. I do like, this is one of my favorite albums. I don't know if I put that I have a song in there.
Yeah,
from
you
him.
do.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to hear all the songs. I on
That was
purpose
so
did not-
hard.
I did not look at them just so I could be surprised. I'm not going to cover those up.
That was so hard.
That book talks about, just to your point, it says immature poets imitate, mature poets steal, bad poets deface what they take, and good poets make it into something better, or at least something different. The good poet welds his theft into a whole of the world, which is unique, utterly different from what it was torn. T.S. Eliot. I was like, yo.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like,
It came through them, but it's not like it came from they got it from somewhere else. You know what I mean?
yeah, and understanding that you can grab that work and make it your own, weld your own craft into it.
Yeah.
And what you just said that triggered another one from Rick Rubin's podcast is he said he came up with an idea and he wanted to try to make it into whatever it was, but he wasn't really necessarily ready to do it yet. He had other things going on, and so he kind of pushed his idea to the side. And then he said 6 months later, someone else in the universe came up with the exact same idea and put it into play, and it worked. And he was like, man, and he says when an idea comes into the universe and it's just finding its conduit, the person that it's going to come through, and maybe it's you sometimes. Maybe your idea that you just came up with was somebody else's idea, and you were just the one that capitalized on it. And to what Dewey said earlier, just drop a turd in the punch bowl, man. Just put it in there. Just go for it. Just do it.
Yeah. And to that, how our job is to be receptive and be open.
Yeah.
And if we're not, we're going to miss some of those things. The universe is like, here's an idea for you, but you're too busy. You're not taking that walk without your headphones on. You're just kind of always bogged down. You miss the ideas.
Yeah. The idea of what he was saying of you have to make sure your antenna. I didn't think about like a TV antenna. I don't know why I thought about an ant antenna, but your antenna, that's the creative mind. But just thinking that you've got to have it switched on to be able to pick up that stuff. And he says that for your creativity to work, it requires constant refreshing of awareness, which we've talked about awareness quite a bit in here, but just thinking that if everything is art, then a beautiful tapestry is happening around me all the time, if I'm aware that it's actually happening. Otherwise, it just, lest it turns back into just the mundane rut that we're in.
Yeah.
And I don't, detract. I don't go anywhere from that. I'm just stuck in the rut, and I'm just going to keep on going until the end. Or you can enjoy the nature that's around you, the people that are around you. People can speak art. So listening to people talk can be its own art form.
Yeah. I mean, a TED Talk, sometimes it's so good, you're just like, was this a performance? Like, it was like, and it was about the most scientific thing, but the way that he or she spoke, and it was just, it had a rhythm, a pace, a flow to it.
Yep.
I love watching the TED Talks and just taking how they've curated something. And you could tell, obviously, they've practiced it. And the way they deliver it, I'm like, man. And I know that, like, I'm like you. I've been doing the talking thing for a while, but I know I'm not at my peak. I know that there's so many things I can change. And some days I'm like, man, I feel like I did a pretty good job in there today. And I'll go watch a TED Talk. I'm like, dude, I suck.
There's levels to it, right?
I need to fix that. And so, but it's funny and interesting. We were talking about this on the stairs. It's funny. We'll all three talk at different times.
We don't know
we need
that.
to stop talking about this because we need to talk about it tomorrow. But man, I'll kind of write my early days of doing the service system training and all the things. I would write a couple of notes and I would go in and I would just talk. And every meeting would be different because I enjoy the flow that happens. If I'm in the flow state and I'm just working with the group and a certain text, like, man, I get this objection, or how do you handle this? And man, this is what I'm actually seeing out there. I can flow with the group. But the unfortunate part about that is every meeting is different and I don't get to deliver the content that I wanted to. So I know now my planners are much more regimented. I have the points that I want to make, and I've gone so far the other way that I almost can stand up there and like almost stare at the wall and talk through it, and I'm not really living in it. I'm saying what I need to say, but I found more now. I have my talking points, but I'm okay straying from that because you can create moments in that with people. And usually the ones that I do that with, those are the ones that the texts are like, man, I really needed to hear that. Or, man, I didn't actually even think about that, because you're actually speaking to the person versus the group, which is very different. I know that the eye that Casey has is her eye. that's been guided with Dewey for a long time, and the people that are on the team right now, it is what it is. Like it's amazing because that whole configuration of those people is really cool. But unplug one person and plug in a new one, and it changes.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that. That just blows my mind, and I love that about art. I love seeing the changes that can actually happen with that. It's pretty amazing.
that's cool.
Yeah. So Korey, I feel like when it comes to art, I feel like we could talk about this stuff forever because there's so many other avenues diving into it. And I know that when it comes to what we do every single day, when it comes to what you do every single day, there's a lot of beautiful things that come from that. And I think that what you bring to the table in this organization, nobody can do it like you. And so I know that sometimes what you create it can be thankless. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool, and you may not always hear it, but I know both Meredith and I are big fans. So what you do every single day, we appreciate what you bring to this organization because nobody can do it like you, my man.
I appreciate that.
You.
I do appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. I was just saying, obviously, Rob and I would love to spend an entire day inside of Korey's mind, is what it sounds like.
For sure.
I want to see the special lighting come through the windows. I want to know when it's happening.
He's like, it's the golden hour right now.
Right? Everybody
Seems
to the window.
bright to me, but okay, let's go.
The
And then we'll see Licky out there on his. Meredith has a pet lizard outside of her window that does push-ups.
They do the thing when they're
yeah. I'll have to have you come over there and photograph him sometime. Yeah, I would absolutely say the same thing as Rob. And I also, too, want to say for all of our listeners, Korey is literally the person who makes the podcast possible. Rob and I certainly, we just show up.
I mean, well, no, not really. You guys do it. We're all three producers on the podcast.
Yeah, we knew when we had this crazy idea. Who can we ask about this? And Korey was, of course, the first name that came to our minds. So we really do appreciate the fact that you helped us bring this to life.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you.
And I'm happy to be here with you guys. And you guys are the cool kids in my eyes because, I mean, you guys are the perfect people to do a podcast. Like, as far as just your temperament, your ideas, your vulnerability, and then just your professionalism, and also but showing your other side of yourself. And I think this is where it's supposed to be. Things happen for a reason, and I'm happy that I'm here with you guys. And I want to say you guys to keep going, even if I'm not here, or even if you guys leave Morris-Jenkins, you guys should do your own podcast somehow, somewhere else. Like, there's something here.
Oh,
Appreciate that,
that. Rob knows that I live for a Korey compliment. We have a Teams chat, and so Korey will be like, "Great pod," and I'll be like, "Oh my god, did you see Rob? Oh my god, guess what Korey said?"
He's a great pod.
Heart. So many hearts.
Just don't let him see that. We got to be cool. We got to be cool.
Right. And now I'm gonna try to make sure that it's 100%. Like if I'm saying it is real.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be like, no, that's not. This spot was okay. The last one was great.
Hey, it was okay. It was a little whack, but hey, tighten up, y'all. Well, we said we wanted to get into your mind. We got some quick questions for you. Meredith, take us away.
All right, rapid fire questions.
Oh.
These will give Brene Brown, idol, her credit for these. She does these at the end of her podcasts, and I love it.
Okay.
So we stole them from her. So the first one is, fill in the blank. Morris-Jenkins is?
A nucleus.
How did you know that he was going to say something profound like that? He had his eyes closed. Her eyes were closed. Y'all couldn't see it. She was like, here it is. Here it comes.
I can't move on without asking him to say more about that.
First thing that came to my mind, it felt like the center of a lot of good things. And it's the center, vital part of we all have our own lives, but Morris-Jenkins brings us all here.
Yeah.
And when we're here, we do amazing things, and we are amazing people. And when we leave, we still take MJ with us. So it's kind of where it came. It just felt like the center, the melting pot, the nucleus of life.
I love that.
I love that.
I love
Yeah,
that. This is
nice.
why we want to be in your mind.
I am to a degree, but I'm not. It's just relaxed,
Yeah.
chilling.
Where do you find that changes?
When I'm comfortable, when I'm not at work, when I'm happy, when I'm when I'm around good people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, most times. Cool. Other than that, it's just kind of like a chilling. What's up?
Yeah,
cool.
I'm here.
I'll speak when I'm spoken to.
Yeah.
Occasionally, if I like you, I'll come out of my way and speak. But it's not in a rude way. It's just like, yeah, if you talk, I'm friendly.
Yeah. I would see why I would have thought that you were quiet. Okay, next one. What's the last show you binge watched and loved?
Oh,
My Girl.
it was probably it was the rom-com with Sweeney. It's not a show, it's the movie, but with the rom-com that's out. I like rom-coms, but it was the one with I don't know what it's called. That one, and then The Gentleman on Netflix.
The Gentleman?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that one.
I don't even need to know anything else other than you like rom-coms.
Yeah. The new one with Sweeney, the blonde chick and the guy with the abs, whatever. I forgot the name of it, but
I have
it
no
was
idea
pretty
what's
good.
happening right now.
Wait,
Sweeney.
with Ryan Gosling?
No, it's in theaters right now.
Oh.
I can't think of the name of it. But basically, they're the people that they have to trick the people to act like they're together, and then they end up being together.
Yes.
They're fighting all the time.
Yes,
and then
yes.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I love that trope. I love it.
Okay. So I looked up Sweeney, and these two. Oh. This is not it.
No, Sweeney's an actress. Her last name is Sweeney.
There's two action figure dudes with machine guns.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but you saw it and you loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I need to hear nothing more.
Yeah,
that's going to be next.
I mean, it's good. It's good. It's a rom-com. It's kind of,
Yeah.
it's just a good time, but it's not to be taken serious.
Right. Yeah.
Roger that. Okay, next one. Give us a concert you'll never forget.
So I've only been to like 4 or 5 concerts in my life, so it's not hard to figure out. I want to say it's probably my first concert, which was John Mayer, because he just sounded really good live.
That's another thing I probably would have gotten wrong about you.
I went to a lot of concerts. Yeah, no.
I'm getting you and Tiffany confused.
Yeah, no, she's
she's
sure.
hitting them live
I've gotten more
concerts.
in my older age. I've gone to more, but I didn't. My first concert wasn't until college, and my girlfriend treated me to that. But I'm not a big concert person. I don't know, and now I want to more. But concerts are just kind of weird to me because you pay a lot of money. Like I don't want to be disappointed. I like you already. I don't need to see you live. I don't need to meet you sometimes. I don't need to, because I want you. I like you in this box. When I see you live and you show up late or you start doing things, and then I got to separate the art now. I can't love the artist anymore. So.
Yeah.
Do you feel like with music, you don't separate the art from the artist?
I do. It's harder. But I do, and you have to, because these music artists are just they're people.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then also most live music doesn't sound good to me, because I love this track how I heard it in the studio. I love what you put together. Now live, you don't have your auto tune. You're doing something extra with the guitar. There's no guitar in this song. Why do you have a guitar in this song? Stuff like that. I'm just like, stuff like that. We're like, okay, you're being extra. But again, if you're a great performer, then it's like, okay, now I feel more respect for you. But yeah, I just not a big concert guy.
Huh. Well, look at that. I learned something else new. Okay, what's your favorite meal?
Crab legs.
Oh.
With the butter?
With the butter. You do my favorite spot is right here on Tyvola, Yummy Crab. They give you in the plastic thing. They put like the potatoes and the seasoning and all the Cajun sauce and all that stuff, and then you shake it up. And you got to put gloves on and a bib and all that. It's messy.
It's a whole experience.
You can't mess up your threads, man.
No,
is that like is it fast food or is it like a sit down kind of place? Sit down. Okay.
It's like an old Denny's.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes that's where the magic happens in the old Denny's.
In the old Denny's.
I just remember Quincy's back in the day with the butter rolls.
Oh my God, those rolls are
those butter rolls. Dang, those things are freaking good. All right, Korey, give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brought you great joy.
I think it's really just watching my daughter beat up on these boys in karate class. And when all the coaches, the girl, but every now and then I can see it in her where she could really do something, and she doesn't like when the boys think they can just beat her. So when she gets on top of them, pounding them, I'm just like, yeah,
dang right.
Yeah. But I can't. I think I told you about it. I cannot get too involved because I used to train, and I have a black belt in karate, and I did all that before. And there's times where I can see her being lazy. She's not really giving it her all. And I'm just like, I don't want to be that dad that's like, you gotta. So sometimes I just walk away. I'm just like, let her have it. I don't want to force her.
Yeah.
but I can get too involved and I'm in a bad mood when I pick her up, like in the car. What are you doing? But I try not to be that dad, so I just let it go.
Why didn't you put your hands up?
All right? Like, yeah, that was a lazy kick you're doing over there.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. What is one thing you are deeply grateful for right now?
Well, to go along with the theme, I think to be able to be creative, I think it's a blessing. I think to be able to see the world the way I do, it's a blessing from God. And I couldn't imagine not being this way. I don't know how other people kind of do what gets them up in the morning. Because I feel like even if I lost everything and whatever happened, I have an urge to create things, and a way that I see the world is just great. So definitely that.
Awesome. I love that.
Love all of those things.
Me too.
Love it all.
Okay.
I have not looked at this. I have no idea.
I listened to them all.
Okay, Corey's top 5 song playlist.
See, this was hard because this is top 5 that I want you guys to hear, but like it's so hard to, like, it's not all time songs, but it's like these are some good songs I'm listening to right now.
And was this numbered in order or no particular order?
No particular order, but like some of the songs are like, I guarantee these are my songs for sure. So they're all my songs, but it was so much pressure. Like that was hard. Like that was hard.
How do you get an artist to choose top 5 of anything when it comes to that?
Yeah,
because I'm curating it for an environment too. So it's like this song is great, but it's really great if you're doing this. It's really great if you're feeling this way. It's like it's not just.
That sounds like how Rachel did it.
Play it really.
Do you feel like these are all over the place of different environments you're trying to curate, or is this
it was even more curated before. I was like, let me give them some of my EDM that I like. Let me give it some of dance. And I was like, no, I'm not being true to the question. If I'm trying to give them something I think they would like, let me just give them some of my favorite songs. So I did that. So these are all my favorite songs.
Okay. It's funny too that I listened to yours on the way home after you sent them to us, and then I was painting Mila's toenails because she had the 8th grade dance last night. And so of course she's, Mom, what should I listen to while you're doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, put on Drake, Passion Fruit.
It's a vibe. You can dance to it.
I was like, I think that was my favorite one from Corey's list. And she's like, okay. And so I don't know if that was, I mean, she is 14, so I guess.
No, she's.
Yeah. She hearing it on the bus.
Yeah.
So she might as well hear it on Spotify.
Oh, Mom, that's my favorite song. Great.
What if she said that? But anyway, thank you, because I was able to, she looked at me when I said, what about Drake? And she's like,
You? Drake?
Who are you? But I was like, well, really it's Corey, but we'll pretend it's me. Okay. Do you want me to try and do all of them?
Hit one, I'll get one.
Okay. The first one, Jaden, Summertime in Paris. I liked that one too.
Do you know who that is?
No.
That is Jaden Smith.
Oh.
Which is Will Smith's son.
Uh-huh.
I thought so. Thought so.
I'll listen to that again on the way home.
Yeah, he's very artsy.
He is, yeah.
But also he does a lot of poetic stuff too with the way he writes and all that. So he's not a big artist, but I mean he's Will Smith's son. So
yeah, it's Will Smith's son.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Obviously, Drake, Passion Fruit.
Yes.
I haven't listened. You know, Drake made your list twice.
He would have made all 5.
Okay.
But I like more of his melodic R&B and like dance style music.
I felt a similarity or some similarities between the music for some reason.
Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of picking up what you were putting down as far as like the types of things that might.
Of all time, right there.
Did you just do a body roll?
Yeah. That's a good song, and it's from his classic album, My Dark Twisted Fantasy.
From the different music.
Good to see that one. But that's a good rap record, and Rick Ross' verse is probably the best verse on that thing too, on the back half.
Dang.
Yeah, you gotta listen to it loud. You gotta hear the violins. Like it's good. They have like a lull in between where they just cut and they just let the beat ride for like a little bit, and that part is just you just drive down the street and just bob your head.
Corey's about ready to jack somebody up at the next light. All right, next one, Miguel, Waves.
Miguel.
I know, I'm kidding.
He's making fun of me.
I'm making fun of this
what
one
you said?
What was it again? What did you say?
I always say skrills.
Oh,
Skrillex.
Skrillex.
It's supposed to be Skrillex. Skrills. Sorry, Miguel.
Miguel. Yeah.
Waves. Tell us about that one. Why that one?
Miguel, he's an R&B artist, but he has kind of a rock undertone to him. And I mean, I couldn't pick just one of his. Adorn is one of his big records, but that one is one that's kind of more of a B-side record. But it's just when it comes on, it's just like you just want to feel good and get dressed and dance while you're getting dressed and go out. And
Now you're speaking Meredith's vibe right here. She's going out, y'all. She's hitting the club.
the club.
Nobody will see that no more. Okay, and then the last one, Drake again, Pound Cake.
And I think I wanted a real rap record too, and this was with Jay-Z as well. And it's off of my favorite Drake album, which is Nothing Was the Same. I think it came out in 2010, but it's such a smooth, just like and then the beat switches at the end and it changes, but you get to hear from today's GOAT and Jay-Z, which is last decades GOAT. So it's pretty cool.
What is it about Drake? Because you said he could have made all 5.
Yeah, I think his music, I think, just speaks to me. When I was a freshman in college, I was downstairs in the dorm and we were studying, and this girl was like, "Yo, have you heard Drake?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Listen." And she played it, and it was Drake, The Best I Ever Had, which was that song. And I heard it, and I was just like, "Wow, this is good." And from that moment on, I've been a Drake fan since 2009. But I think, again, more of his R&B side and more of his kind of melodic side. He does hardcore rap too, but that's cool in the moment. But
yeah.
I could just press play, and it can just carry you throughout the whole thing.
I'm going to start listening to, because sometimes Korey will post a song on his Instagram. So from now on, I'm going to listen to every single one.
I'm going to start posting more Drake. They'll be like, "Yo, enough with the Drake."
Stop it.
Stop it.
Meanwhile, what you didn't know about the story of how she introduced it to him, she came down in the Xena Warrior Princess outfit. That's why he started listening to Drake.
Yeah, I'll listen to anything you put in front of me. What you need?
Go right ahead.
Okay, what does this playlist say about Korey McDonald?
It says that I like good music. I don't know. And like you said, I mean, you kind of hinted to it. It's a lane, it's an avenue that they're all in, and they're not the same songs because some of them are more rap. The first one, I don't know, but I think through that you can get a feel of what I like to hear. But again, it also changes. And my gym playlist is not any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it all changes. But
Yeah, it very much reflected for me when I picture you in my mind.
Yeah.
Just kind of like you said, like kind of just chilling and vibing and taking it all in. And that is very much, it was very much, I felt like a representative of how I would imagine you. Like it reflected you, I felt like.
Yeah, real melodic, lover boy, deep lyrics, poetry mixed in, good beats, yeah, that kind of stuff. Instrumentation.
We haven't even talked about your poetry side.
I think that's all the time we got today, folks. Tune in next week.
Next time, part 7. Part 7.
Oh, me. Okay. Phew. That was so fantastic. Thank you so much, Korey, for me personally pushing me outside of my comfort zone, and doing a little bit of reflection about some things in my own life that I could maybe tap into a little bit more. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
we appreciate you being on here today so much.
Thank you. I told you guys to pick your own topic. Y'all didn't want to pick it, so I had to pick it.
That's
and,
right.
And here we
Glad you
are.
did.
Yeah, me too. Okay. I guess that's it, folks. As much as I want to keep picking Korey's brain.
Korey, thank you so much for spending time with us today. You are amazing, and we appreciate all of your wonderful thoughts, your creative spirit that you bring to the table. You are the man. Hey, for those of you that have been listening today, thank you for your time. Hope that you enjoyed the episode. Please, like I said, excuse some of the technical difficulties, but like I said, it was too good not to release this episode. If you enjoyed listening with us today, please like and subscribe. You can do it on Apple or Spotify. Hope that you guys can go out there and live your creative spirits. And until we see you next time, as Meredith would say, peace, love, and easy does it. Appreciate y'all.